So I'm going to tell you the story from in the middle, and later on I'll fill in the beginning, of like my year and a half at hell in this condo. When I first moved here 5 years ago, it was about 5 years and 2 weeks ago, the hell started even before I moved in. But I'll fill you in later on why I moved in, even though the hell started before I moved in. But we're going to fast forward to June 2015. So on Wednesday, June 3rd, I hadn't heard from my landlady since she tried to evict me for having an online business and no water trays, and she didn't like that I had this really wonderful thing in my window other than blinds. So she tried to evict me for that. We'll go back later to why that happened. But I hadn't heard from her since then. That was August 2014. Sent the rent checks, registered mail. She wouldn't pick them up. I'll fill you in on that again too. So anyway, on June 3rd, so I had just been living here as usual, and on June 3rd, I got a voicemail. And it was a man that I don't know, that we're going to refer to as Jethro.
Jethro Ortega.
Jethro Ortega, because I don't want to use his real name, but it's kind of like that. Jethro Ortega leaves me a message and says, "The DA told me to call you." Well, the only reason I called him back, because I don't call people back that I don't know who leave me weird messages, is because when my downstairs neighbor, who's in the homeowners association, she's the secretary, threatened me, I called the police and they took a report, and then they later came and interviewed Henry and I and said, we're going to talk to the DA and see if he wants to press charges, because this would be a felony. So I returned this person's call because he also had a Spanish last name, and he said something about the DA. So I called this guy. So Jethro says to me, he goes, "I'm your landlady's nephew, and I'm from Washington, D.C. I'm taking over conservatorship for her because she's in the hospital. She's in a mental institution. I'm going to take over conservatorship for her." Anyway, what I noticed later is the whole conversation, which was maybe like 20 minutes long, he just talked around in circles. He never really said anything. He never really got to any point. He just wanted money. I couldn't figure out still what this district attorney thing was. So anyway, I said to him, you know what, I think since we're not getting anywhere, it's better that we have lawyers talk to each other. He goes, "Okay, have your lawyer call me." I said, "Well, I don't have one on retainer. I'll have to get a lawyer and have them talk to you." He calls me back the next morning at 8:30, and he says, "I haven't heard from your lawyer." So I sent him a text, and I said, "I need you to prove that you have conservatorship over my landlady, so you can mail that to me. And until then, I'm not going to go hire a lawyer because I don't need a lawyer until I have proof that you have conservatorship, and we can talk from there." And I told him, "Don't bother me anymore. Don't call me." And I blocked his call. So I didn't hear from him again. Wow.
The 30th.
Yeah, until the 30th, like the day before the rent would be due. So he comes on the 30th. Henry had just left, which is curious because Henry's here all weekend long, and Henry leaves.
He shows up just within minutes after I left.
He shows up within minutes of when Henry leaves. So we know that someone calls him and says, "Okay, he's gone. You can come now. She's alone." Anyway, I'm walking around here. It's a really hot day. I'm walking around here with a little tiny sports bra on and shorts. And the dog runs to the door and is barking, and since I have this horrible screen that the dog can slip out and under, I grab the dog and I'm holding her in front of me, and he just starts, once again, not talking about anything. He says something like, "I'm going to need like $11,000 from you, and I'm going to need to know if you want to stay or you want to leave." And I said, "I've lived here 5 years. This is my home. I definitely want to stay." I said, "We can mediate if you want to, because I'd like to mediate." And I had already asked the city attorney way back in December to mediate with my landlady, and she never responded to him. So he said, "No, I'm not interested in that. I'm only interested in this." And I said, "Well, you can't really have me live in a place. I haven't had water in my bathroom sink since January. It was in January. The homeowners turned off the water one day.
Sediment went up in the pipes.
Probably sediment went up in the pipes, and I don't have water in the bathroom, and I can't have a plumber come because I'm not allowed to have the water turned off for the building. I don't have permission to have the water turned off to have someone work on the pipes."
You have to give it the fuller context. Is the two primary members of the HOA seem to have it in for cleats. The situation gets pretty sticky here, especially when the landlord disappears. So she really doesn't have much leeway to do anything as far as getting things fixed.
So we just had to move like all our toothbrushes and everything into, luckily I have another tiny little bathroom off the bedroom.
That just started working within the last 6 months or so.
Oh, that one didn't work either. We had to come in the kitchen for a while. So when they turned off the water in January, there was no water in both of them. And then after a while, the one started to work in the small bathroom. Before that, we had to do everything in the kitchen. And I wrote to the homeowners association, and they just said, so what? We don't care. That's your problem.
Yeah, they just cackled and said, contact your landlord.
So anyway, back to Jethro. I say, I'm not paying you this outrageous sum when people are threatening me and stealing my mail bins, and I don't have water in my bathroom, and I can't get help for anything here, and there's no one to call. I had a termite infestation. I had a bee infestation.
Your car's being vandalized?
My car has been vandalized 9 times. I said, you know, you have to clear this up. He goes, well, that's the past. We don't need to go into the past. I said, no, this is still all ongoing.
But yet he's trying to collect rent from the tax.
He's like, he didn't say like, well, can I come in and see whether it doesn't work or anything like that. He just is like, money, 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 money. You staying, you leaving, you staying, you leaving. And I said to him, you know what, if you don't want to mediate, let's just go to eviction court, because I'd rather have this all in front of a judge and have a judge decide like what to do. Anyway, he leaves. But as he's going down the steps, he tells me he doesn't know the homeowners at all. As he's going down the steps, I hear him speaking to someone. I'm like, I'll be damned. He's like talking to one of the homeowners at the bottom of the steps. So I put on a jacket because, as I said, I just had a little sports bra and I had to stand and talk to this guy for this length of time through the screen. And I go downstairs and I see that he's talking to these 2 people underneath one of the homeowners' window, that their window is open as loud as they can, like about my business, which is not okay. They see me and they kind of look like all, she's looking at us. And I come back upstairs and I call Henry and I'm talking to him. While I'm talking to Henry, the 2 younger people he's with are walking back and forth like thugs, like underneath my window, staring up at it, like glaring at me, like, we want to get in there. And I'm like, yeah, what the hell? Why are they just walking back and forth staring at me? Anyway, they get in their brand new vet and they take off. About 15 minutes later, I go downstairs just to see if he's around. And I'm still talking to Henry, and I could see my phone's ringing in the background, but I don't care who it is, because I'm talking to Henry. I'm upset, and I'm talking to him. I go downstairs. He jumps out of his car, and he points at his phone. He's like, I'm calling you, I'm calling you. I went, I'm on the phone. He starts the same round and round conversation about nothing. I said, listen, do you want to mediate or not? Because I don't want to talk to you out here in the street. He's like, no, there's no reason to mediate. You either pay me all this or you get out of here. I say, well, let's go to eviction court then. He talks on and on and on and on. Anyway, the downstairs neighbor that he was having all this conversation with underneath her window comes out, and he kind of has this look on his face like he came out to protect me from something. And he goes and he stands at his trunk. He has nothing to do because he's already cleaned his car like he does every day. He stands at his trunk, like right in between us. So it's like the 3 of us standing there. I introduced them. And he kind of looks at my neighbor like he's like not worthy of speaking to him. And then he acts like, you know, he's tired of talking to me now because someone else is listening. He goes, oh, well, we'll talk later, okay? I just said, whatever. Anyway, one thing I forgot to tell you is he handed me a photocopied piece of paper that he claims says he has conservatorship over my landlady. It has all these things crossed out. It's 1 page of many, you can tell by that. There's no court, seal, phone number, where the court is or anything. It just says Superior Court, but it doesn't say anything else.
Homemade.
It looks homemade. And a whole bunch of things crossed out, added in. And he said this proves he has conservatorship. So I read it that night, through and through. At the bottom it says, until you get a $30,000 bond, you will not get your conservatorship papers. So you have to prove that first. So that was just a preliminary thing that didn't prove anything, but he tried to pull it over on me as if it did mean something.
Which is why he was always trying to catch her without me around.
Right, he's always trying to come when Henry isn't
Because
around.
he thought he was going to charm. That didn't work. Then he started kind of soft shoe intimidating, talking about how he's a really reasonable guy.
Oh yeah, he told me, he said to me, I'm a really easy to get along with, nice guy. And I said, you know, I told my boyfriend that, and he said, oh, that's like classic thing that someone says when they aren't easygoing and easy to get along with. I said, I know exactly what you're up to. It wasn't a pleasant conversation. I'm pleased with myself because I was very anxious, but I really stood my ground and like really got him just to go away until he could prove. I said, as soon as you can prove that you have conservatorship, we can talk about everything and you can come in and you can get things fixed and blah, blah, blah. But you got to take care of like these neighbors. But once again, he goes, that's the past. What am I going to do about that? I can't. I said,
didn't he say it was something personal?
Oh, he said, and it's probably something personal. I said, this isn't something personal. Not at all. But I'll fill you in later on that story of why it's not personal and why it has to do with this specific condo. I said, in fact, she's home right now. Why don't you go talk to her? He didn't want to do that, so he doesn't care about fixing the water or making sure people don't threaten me or abuse me. He just came to like check me out, try to get in my apartment. Because I don't see why he would bring his kids unless they were like trying to get in the apartment. That was my first encounter. It really shook me up. And during that time, he said to me, I'm going to want to do an inspection, but I want to do it on, you know, on your time because I don't want to inconvenience you. I said, well, tomorrow I have an appointment. I have a Heller work appointment. He's like, okay, that's fine, that's fine. So I come home from my appointment Wednesday night. I went swimming afterwards, and I had to take a bath, you know, because I was in the swimming pool. I wanted to get the chlorine off. And I hear him, like, shoot a paper under my door. I go out, and I take a picture and a video of it, what time it came in. And it's at 6:20. It says 24-hour notice to come and inspect. Well, 6:20...
It was after business hours already.
Right. 6:20 is not 24 hours because business hours are 9 to 5. And I'm a stickler for this stuff just because my landlady got away with so much stuff, and then I'm the one who had to, like, pay for it later after I let her get away with things. So I don't let them get away with things anymore. I texted him and I said, I need proof that you have conservatorship. Do not call me again. Do not show up at my door again. Please mail the proof that you have it and that you have the bond to my address, and then I will gladly send you a list of things that need to be fixed, and we will arrange a time for you to come and do an inspection. I didn't hear back from him. So I thought, okay, he went away. That's that. So once again, the coincidence that's not a coincidence is he said he wants to do it at my convenience. Everyone here knows that every Thursday afternoon through Friday afternoon, I drive out to Covina to see Henry and to get some work done. I go shopping for my business, and I go visit him, and I stay overnight. So everybody knows that. So he conveniently gives me the note when he knows that I'm going to be gone. So I know, again, he's speaking to someone about my habits and what I do. So I called Henry, and I'm like, oh, I can't leave because he might come in and, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And then I just said, no, I'll be damned if I'm going to let him do this to me. So I put slips of paper in every drawer. I took videotapes of the entire house so I know exactly what was where, what was going on. So if any door was open, the paper would fall out. I even put the paper in weird little configuration so he couldn't open the door, put it back right, so that it was like this exact thing that I had done, videotaped it, and cleaned the house, locked the doors, left, and just said, forget about it. I came home the next day. I don't think anyone was in here. I didn't notice anything. The 4th of July weekend, didn't hear from him, completely left me alone. And then, Tuesday again, right, you know, when Henry's leaving, I get another 24-hour notice. This one doesn't have any time whatsoever. It's just like, I guess all day long, this 24-hour notice to inspect. But I've gotten these before. I know the word inspect means harass. Otherwise, it would say to fix the water, to do the things that need to be done. It just goes inspect. So I knew it was harassment. I called Henry, and he said, I'm just going to come after work. I'm going to come and stay overnight and stay tomorrow and be with you, and we'll videotape him if he comes in. If he can't, we'll make him show his conservatorship papers. If he, you know, we'll videotape him. Henry stays overnight. We get up early, get the house straightened up, we wait, and Henry says to me, you know, while you were asleep, I found the actual number to the mental health conservatorship court that oversaw him and the judge. So he has two different numbers. I call them. They tell me he definitely does not have it, the first number. That's the judge. I call the second number. They say he definitely does not have it. I go, okay, so I can't let him in because he definitely doesn't have it. So we sit here all day. We start to calm down by about 3:30, going, okay, he's not coming. Why would someone come at 3:30? Although he did call me once and hang up. He called, he hung up. He didn't leave a message or anything. That was probably about 10:30 in the morning. So we're sitting here and we're just like doing different things, watching videos, reading, I'm cleaning the house. And I sat down on the couch and all of a sudden I heard someone jiggling the locks, like they were just going to try to get in. Or he might have even put a key in and was jiggling it with the key. But definitely just jiggling, and I said, Henry, oh my God, I guess it's him, he's trying to get in. So Henry runs to the door, and I get my phone, and I'm like, I decided, videotape him. Henry opens the door, and he says, I'm Jethro Ortega, like he always does. Like
he likes the sound of his own.
Like he's an authority figure or something. And he's holding this paper like this far back. There's a screen in between us, and he's holding this paper. And I said, you can't come in, you don't have conservatorship. I called the courts today, and I hold the phone numbers up. Any normal person will go, I do so. Let me see what number you called. Let's call them together or something. He doesn't say any of that.
He says, you see this?
See this?
This means I can come in.
This means I can come in.
He didn't really show us. I mean, he showed us.
He wouldn't let us see it.
He just held it up like we were supposed to divine what it was.
Really far back.
From like 5 feet away.
No, I think we're like peons, so we don't deserve to get to see it. Everyone else deserves to see his little stuff, but we don't.
Or we might peep some game.
Yeah, we might peep some game if we actually like read it, like I did the first one. The first one I peeped, he didn't have his $30,000 bond paid yet. I say, you're not coming in. He goes, call the police then, I'll wait. So I call the police, and you know, in the hood, or the upper hood, like one little hillside above the hood, it takes the police 1 to 5 to 6 hours to come. And that's not an exaggeration either. So it was about an hour later, and I knew he was going to stand out on the sidewalk and try to charm them first before they got to hear my side, but I let him. Because I wasn't going to go stand out on the sidewalk and compete with them. So of course, he tried to charm them. The police come up and they go, well, we saw his papers and it looks like they're okay. I said, I called the judge and the courthouse and they said that it's not. And if you go online, that court case says no results found. They said, well, if you don't want to let him in, you don't have to. And I said, I don't want to let him in. I'd rather go to eviction court. Policeman said, fine, okay, I'll go tell him. Like 1 minute later, we can hear his arm hit the door really hard because he slammed this 3-day notice to quit under that had totally been prepared in advance because that was why he was planning to come in to harass me and to give me this notice. He didn't expect Henry to be here, he expected Henry to be at work. So he thought he could like come in, harass me, play this game with me, and then give me the notice anyway.
He had his kids with him this time.
His kids were here too. Whatever that was all about, I don't know, posturing downstairs. So now that I have the 3-day thing, which I've been asking for since last August, and no one will give me one. I've almost been begging for the 3-day to quit and then the eviction thing, and they drop it right after they start the eviction thing. So anyway, I'm like, good, relief. I can go to a judge and present them with all of my evidence instead of dealing with these people showing up at my door and calling me and doing things. So we think the coast is clear, he's left.
The incident is over.
I start to make dinner.
But no.
I start to make dinner. I look out, he parked way at the end of the street. It's like 7 o'clock. He parks way at the end of the street thinking I'm not going to see him. Then the president of the HOA, who lives underneath me, pulls up outside the door, and then another one of them pulls up. And I look out at the president of the HOA, and she has the most evil laugh and then smile on her face like, your blah, blah, blah is cooked, bitch. She's laughing at me. I can just like see her laughing at me like, wow, that is really, really evil. Well, what happens next is all the homeowners converge in this tiny little yard we have that has one little bench in it, and I can hear them talking about me. people's windows are open. They're talking about me and like how to handle me and what to do. I hear the homeowners go, "Hi Jethro, how are you?" And then he said he didn't know them. He'd never met them.
His story is so full of holes and so full of lies. Evidently, he thinks that Cleese is not worthy of the truth or something.
He tells me all kinds of lies. I can, like, I'm going to make a list of them for when we go to court. He has told me so many lies that I found out from the court, from other people, from overhearing him, from having 2 conversations with him. He just lies all the time about everything. In fact, he has 2 different phone numbers and 2 different addresses. And he lives in Washington, D.C., but he lives here. So who knows what's going on. So they have a meeting downstairs, and the one person in the homeowners, there's only 3 people in the homeowners association, 2 people were bitches, and 1 guy who I just thought like just didn't have any, what's the Spanish word for?
Cojones.
He doesn't have any cojones, because he can't speak up, he can't say anything, he can't defend me, he can't help me out, he can't say to them, okay, enough. That's just too much.
He's just a yes man.
He's just a yes man. I have been nice to him and talked to him even though all this stuff is going on. And then all of a sudden I hear his door open and he goes down and joins the little crowd. So I thought I need to go to the top of the stairs and make a little video showing that they're all downstairs having a meeting in the yard, which they've never done before. They don't even have homeowners meetings, I don't think. They're all secret, and just the 3 of them have them, not all the homeowners. And so I videotaped them. Right as soon as I started videotaping them, they looked at me and then they ran in the secretary's apartment to have, like, behind closed doors to have their meeting.
So it seemed like it was a show of solidarity or something. Like, see, everyone's against you, Cleese, because you're a bad person.
Right.
When really it's the opposite.
Right. I haven't done anything that I can think of. I keep saying to Henry, did I do something bad? He's like, no. I've been here the whole time. You haven't done anything.
The HOA president and the secretary are complete worthless bitches.
Complete worthless bitches. In fact, we have nicknames for them that you'll find out later. That really rattled me, and I usually go to Henry's on Thursday, but now that I have this 3-day to quit and all this stuff happened and everything, I'm kind of afraid to leave. I'm afraid of, like, they'll kill my dog or steal my things or lock me out or something. But then again, I'm too upset to stay here. So what we decided to do is drive out in 1 car, leave Henry's car here so it looked like there was someone here, leave all the lights on. Unfortunately, I was so rattled that I didn't put all the little pieces of paper in things and do all that. I just kind of like looked around. I took all my money with me, I took all my checks with me, I took all of my writings, because I've been writing since I was little. I took all these massive amounts of writings with me, and I took all my paperwork for what's been going on here for when we go to court for the last 2 years, because I didn't want him to steal any of that. We left, we drove to Henry's, did what I did, I went shopping for my business, he went to work, and we went out to dinner and stuff, but still, it's like, I felt like we're in the twilight zone. It's like nothing feels real. I feel really upset. I feel weird. And now finally Henry's starting to feel like upset and like maybe there's something more we need to do.
Yeah, ever since that incident I've been feeling some sense of danger, especially feeling like as if this fool has a key. So who knows what they're capable of, you know? Right.
So we're at his house. I start having these images in my mind that someone has like done like a cross thing with Skylar, like slit my dog. Here's the doggy. I start having these images go through my mind like 3 or 4 times that someone has nailed her paws to the wall and slit her stomach open. And I even told Henry that on Thursday night or Friday morning. I'm like, I keep feeling like someone like nailed Skylar to the wall and like slit her stomach open. I'm gonna go home and she's dead. But he had to go to work, so I stayed at his house and tried to make some phone calls and talk to some people about what to do about the 3-day notice and what I'll do like on Monday or Tuesday when I get the eviction notice, if he has the ability to evict me. Okay, so I'm having these images in my head that Skylar has been nailed to the wall, and I do have like these psychic like feelings. They're always a little bit off, but I do have psychic feelings about something's about to happen. Maybe like the wrong time period or maybe the wrong image, but I know something's happening. So I was like just freaked out about it all day long.
6:30.
So we got back here about 6:30, and we walked in, and, before we walked in, I always, like, run up with the groceries that I bought when I was at Henry's and put them in front of the door. Skylar is always like, ah! And I leave her with a full run of the living room, the kitchen, and the patio. So she has a pillow she can sit out in the sun. I leave her with treats. I leave her with, like, twice as much food as she'd ever need. Huge amount of water, and blankets and stairways up to the couch, so she's completely comfortable. Lights on. So I usually leave her only for, like, 12 or 14 hours, but I leave all this stuff going on. But I went down to the car and I said to Henry, Skylar wasn't at the door when I came. She wasn't making any noise. She didn't come to the door. Something's wrong. So he came up with me. We found her locked in the bathroom in the dark with poop and pee everywhere, even on my thing that I use for a bath mat. And she had been locked in there. She also had like a pee-pee pad in the living room that she had gone to the bathroom on. So for some of the period when we were gone, from about 2 o'clock on Thursday till 6:30 on Friday, she had been out here. I remember closing the door that separates the two parts of the apartment, and I remember closing the bathroom door, and I remember closing the other door. So someone was in here at some point, and she would like throw a fit if someone came in, and like maybe even try to attack them and growl and make all kinds of noise. Someone was in here, opened the other bedroom door, opened the part that divides the two parts of the apartment, took her and locked her in the bathroom without food or water. Like, who would do something like that to a dog? Jethro.
Or one of his minions.
Or one of the minions. It doesn't look like the locks were broken in. I called the police. So this is where I say sometimes it takes them 5 or 6 hours. I called them at about 7:15. She got here around 12. I called like 3 times to say, are they still coming? Yeah, she has to come from the station, which is about 2 miles away. But she was I told her, you're the nicest police person I have ever met in my life. She came and she interviewed us both, and she said, well, yeah, if nothing's missing, which I haven't been able to find anything missing, but I was a little bit worried that they implanted a microphone or a camera in here or something. But I can't find anything missing offhand. So she took the report, and they're going to go have a talk with him. Yeah, the last few days have just been like the Twilight Zone. We've been exhausted and worn out and don't know what to do, and
we have ideas.
Oh no, we have ideas on what to do. But we're not doing anything evil. We'll just defend ourselves if we have to, or and I'll do anything legal that I can think of. We'll tell you the rest of the story in other videos, so if you have any comments on like where I can get help, I know a lot about all the laws in LA for renters. Unfortunately, I live in a condo, so that changes some of the laws. There's a lot of laws that don't apply because I live in a condo. So leave comments, tell me what I can do, and don't say move, because that's another thing. I'm going to tell you how complicated it is.
Says move.
Everyone just goes, move! Between money, an old dog who pees just pretty much wherever she wants to, and no one can touch her but me, so I can't really move in with someone who can't touch her. Henry isn't allowed to have dogs at his place. So he's waiting he's about to get a new job, and then we will probably move in together in a new place. But we're waiting for different situations to happen, and I do have a business with about 800 things listed. I have an entire huge bedroom filled with things. So I need to keep my business running in order to make money, and I don't really know where to go. So anyway, that's our story. It's the truth, so I'm sticking to it, and we wanted to videotape this so that I don't forget it, and also possibly to be able to find somebody who can help me with this situation, because I didn't even know I could deal with this much stress. I have a very low stress threshold and have anxiety a lot. This has made me so strong. That's the good part. I knew there was like a bright spot in all this, and the bright spot is this has made me really strong, and it's made me peep a lot of game and be able to say to people, oh no, that's not happening. I'm not going to let you get away with that anymore. That's where we stand right now. So Monday or Tuesday, I'm waiting for the eviction notice if he's capable of doing it, or some kind of retribution from the police going to visit him. I don't know how soon they're going to go visit him.
If they went to visit.
well, you can be sure I'm going to check up on that and say to them, no, you can't let someone come in my house. Because when I first called, they said they were going to send a fingerprint person too, but they didn't. The police around here really just don't do hardly anything. Because I think I have about 9 police reports filed now on the things that have happened here.
This seems to be a low priority area.
Yeah, very low priority. Okay, like and subscribe.